you will see what I consider to be my two recommendations. So the first one is this. This is the sensor push, and this is what we use here at the office and what I use at home. The real big reason is that this not only can pair with Bluetooth, but also via Wi-Fi, which means that when I was in the Dominican Republic earlier this month, or I guess last month, I could see the humidity and temperature readings live of what was going on in here. But for most people, I don't think that's probably the best option. In fact, I would recommend the Boveda device, and this is the Boveda Butler. It retails for $20, so it's one of the cheaper and smaller smart hygrometers on the market, and it doesn't have the Wi-Fi, or I guess sort of has the Wi-Fi option, not straight out of the box, but it pairs via Bluetooth, and for most people, this is great. Now, the one thing you'll notice outside of the really small stature of these two devices is that unlike that hygrometer I had in my hand a second ago, they don't have screens. And so that's led to a new subset of category of smart hygrometers, which is smart hygrometers that have a screen, and that leads to today's review, which is this device, this one right here. And this is from Inkbird, and it's got a weird name of acronyms. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip around, and we're going to take a look at it from a different camera angle, one that's a little bit closer. So this is the IBS-TH1 Plus, and my first thought is maybe not the best of names. Maybe we could have had something that doesn't have IBS in it, but I do like the actual profile of the hardware. So it's a rounded square. It's 2.5 inches wide, so from there to there, it's 2.5 inches from here to the bottom of the device, and it's 0.8 inches thick. Now the screen deceivingly looks large, so it takes up a large percentage of the front area, but you'll note that there's like a ton of wasted space right here. I can put my other finger up here, and we're not losing any information or removing quite a bit of the screen, but it at least looks like it takes up a lot. There's only one button. It's located right here, and that just quickly changes between Fahrenheit and Celsius. So you can see very quickly, very easy to use. This right here is an input jack. It looks like a headphone jack, but it is in fact not a headphone jack. So it is made for the removable temperature probe, which is this. It's like a 6.5-ish foot long probe. So you plug it in, and you'll note that you're going to see the word external appear and a different temperature. And so it's measuring the temperature all the way at the end of the probe, which once again looks like that. Now, my guess is that this is made for people that want to use this device to measure the temperature inside a grill or a smoker when they're grilling or smoking meats. It is not very useful for people that are using this to measure the relative humidity and temperature in their cigar storage environments, because it does not measure relative humidity. So relatively useless. There's the pun, but it is removable, so that's good. Now, the back has an interesting and nice feature. It's magnetic, so this can go on the lid of a desktop humidor or anything else that's metal, which is nice. Unfortunately, the back has another issue, which is that this battery cage does not want to get removed. And my guess is that I'm going to have to take like a Phillips or a flathead screwdriver, not a Phillips screwdriver, but a flathead screwdriver, and remove this and probably break the plastic. And the reason behind that is you'll note at the bottom here, I have a battery warning light. Interestingly, yesterday it was saying that it was at 19% battery, and then earlier today it was back at 20, and we're about to find out when I pull open the app here what we are reading today, but it wouldn't surprise me if it's back at 20. So the app that you want is, interestingly enough, not called the Inkbird app, despite the fact that there is one. What you want is the Inkbird app, and we will go back to the original settings. I was distracted by some FDA news earlier when I was filming this. So from here, this is the main screen. You can see that there is the temperature and relative humidity are reading here. One note, you'll note that the 76.78% or 76.78 degrees Fahrenheit should round up, but it doesn't. So what they do is it just removes the 100th decimal place there, and that's what gets displayed on the hardware device itself. As you can see, there's a little bit of a lag between the app and the actual hardware, but it's very minimal, and certainly I don't know why you would need immediate results. But the home screen's nice. You can add multiple devices here. So if you had multiple hygrometers and multiple humidors, you could see the different temperatures and humidities there. So we're going to start by hitting settings, and you'll see that you're entered to a different screen. From there, you can edit the name. It's pretty simple. You just go in there, redo the text. And from there, you'll also see that the interval is set to 30 seconds. Now, that brings us to the data logger portion of this. So this device, the hardware, is not only a hygrometer, it's also a data logger. And so what that means is that it measures data points, in this case humidity and temperature, and it can store them. It stores up to 30,000. So what it means is that if you take away the smartphone and you just have the device in your humidor, and the smartphone's away, let's say you're on vacation, and then you come back, you get in Bluetooth range, and it connects to your smartphone, this device will then transfer the data from here to here, up to 30,000 data points. And so that's why the interval is important. You'll see there's like a little warning here. And the reason why is because the hardware is always sort of adjusting on a much more regular basis to the changes in temperature and humidity, you can set it to record certain data points based off different intervals. So at the very top end, you have 10 seconds, and that would mean that it's going to take 6 data points per minute. And at the bottom, you have 30 minutes. Now, it only stores, it says 30,000, but it seems like it's storing a little bit over 30,000, like 30,010, not 31,000. But 30,000 data points at every 10 seconds is only good for about 3.5 days, not even, whereas every 30 minutes is good for well over a year and a half. So there's a big gap there. At 30 seconds, it's going to record about 10.5 days, a little less than that. And so that means that for most of my activities, this is great. I haven't really lost data except for one time when I recently was out of the country for almost 2 weeks. So below that, you'll see there's a calibration option, and I have it set to minus 2.8% relative humidity because it was reading a little bit high. And then the next thing down here is for alerts. Now, the most useful feature to me for a smart hygrometer is alerts. So you can set it so that if your temperature drops below a certain point or goes above a certain point, same thing with humidity, you get a push notification. You can see you can turn them on and off, toggle it like any basic app. Unfortunately, these sliders are really, really challenging to set. So if I'm going to try to set this at 65, for example, which I've been unable to do. So I got it to 63, 64, 66, 60. You can see it's just not going to get to 65. It got to 66. And if I want to say set this to, let's say 75, you can see it's troubling there. Oh, so we had 75 for a second. Nope. Anyway, I hope this illustrates. Oh, I thought I had it. So I hope this illustrates that these sliders are not very easy to move. And unfortunately, the range is massive because these are made for all sorts of things. So you can see it goes up to 208 degrees Fahrenheit, which would be great for if you're like someone that's grilling and smoking meats, but not so great for this particular use case, which is a cigar humidor where 208 degrees Fahrenheit is just as good, quite frankly, as 100 degrees Fahrenheit. So we can go out there. Now you'll see I got a push notification here, and I have gotten some actual push notifications, like a text message where there's like an alert here and it shows up my home screen, but it rarely ever works and only seems to want to cooperate immediately after I use the app, and so long as I don't close out of the app. And so it's certainly not as consistent as Boveda or Sensor Push's device, and I would overall say that it's probably a failure. And you'll note that we're at 20% battery despite being at 19% a couple hours ago. So I can also see historical data. So if I click the diagram option here, you'll see that at the top it's loading. If you watch my Govee video or read the review of the Govee, which is the most direct competitor to the Inkbird, you'll note that I had a lot of issues with this because I couldn't use the app fully well. The loading screen was appearing. Now in this case, I can do whatever I want. So this is temperature, and you can see there's a graph right here. It's measuring over a day, but if I click the graph, I can change it to, say, a month, and then you can see it, and I can click on any of the data points here, and it will show me exactly what it was at that particular time. It also has a distribution chart, which shows how frequently the data points were falling within a certain set of parameters. So in this case, between 65.48 and 66.91 degrees Fahrenheit. So that's nice. I can easily switch to humidity and do the exact same things. It also gives me up top some max, min, average. Great. You can see the distribution here is a lot different than it is for the temperature. It also has an option to export data. I have not gotten it to work. It's supposed to send a CSV file to your email, but it doesn't seem to work, and that seems to be a common issue with just about every single app that has that option. So, would I recommend the Inkbird? And the answer is no. I still think that the best option for you as far as a smart hygrometer goes is the Boveda Butler, this device. Now, it doesn't have a screen, but at $20, it costs almost half as much as the Inkbird does, and the app is so much better. And that's my real issue with the Inkbird. For me, the most useful feature is the notifications, and if the notifications don't consistently work and I can't rely on them, then I might as well just have a regular hygrometer. And Boveda is so far the cheapest solution, and really the only one that's specifically designed for cigars, although it's just a custom skinned app itself, but it's still optimized for cigar storage as opposed to an app like this. My second issue is this whole battery thing. Now, it did ship with 2 AAA batteries, and I appreciate that it uses AAA batteries because they're a lot easier than the watch batteries that go in, say, the Boveda or say the sensor push, which is the device that I actually use, although it's a bit pricier than the Boveda. And the problem I have is that the battery cage is going to get absolutely destroyed when I go to open it. It did ship with 2 AAA batteries. They were below 50% when we started. I don't know if the battery sensor is messed up or if the batteries are just doing weird things, but that's another concern. If you absolutely have to have a screen on a hygrometer and you still want a smart hygrometer, I have a pretty simple recommendation, which is that you should take the Boveda and then you should go get yourself a $15 hygrometer. This one's not $15. It's a lot less than that. And you have, for the same price as the Inkbird, you have a solution that works. If you really need to have a singular smart hygrometer that has a screen, there are 2 options that I've tested. We have the Inkbird and we have the Govee. I would say the Inkbird is the only one that I would consider to be usable. The Govee's app is so much worse than the Inkbird's and is just quite frankly not usable. So in that particular instance, I would recommend the slightly cheaper Inkbird. But once again, what you should be doing is getting a Boveda or a sensor push. So for more reviews of hygrometer, smart or otherwise, humidor, cigars, anything to do with cigars, you can check out halfwheel.com for news as well. We do those sorts of things. I'm going to keep talking because we're going to put some links up here. So like right here-ish, and then over here too, there's going to be some links to some other accessory reviews. So hopefully you check those out and enjoy. And we will be back, I'm sure, next month with another review of a smart hygrometer.